Have you ever stood in a long line at an embassy, clutching a stack of papers, all for that little sticker in your passport called a visa? Or maybe you've breezed through an airport, your passport granting you visa-free access. Either way, that single piece of paper, or the lack thereof, dictates where in the world you can go. But have you ever wondered where this whole system came from? Have you ever wondered where this whole system came from? How did we get to a point where our travel freedom is so closely managed by governments? The story of the tourist visa is more than just bureaucracy. It's a fascinating journey through war, politics, economics, and the very idea of what it means to be a global citizen. Believe it or not, for most of human history, international travel was a lot freer. Of course, it was also much more difficult and dangerous, but if you could afford the journey and survive it, you could generally cross borders without a government-issued permission slip. Passports existed, but they were more like letters of introduction from a monarch, requesting safe passage for the holder. They weren't a mandatory ID. People moved, traded, and explored across continents. It was a world without immigration checkpoints as we know them today. So what changed? The simple answer is World War I. The outbreak of the Great War in 1914 threw the world into a state of paranoia and suspicion. Suddenly, every foreigner was a potential spy. Nations that had once welcomed travelers slammed their borders shut. For the first time, governments began demanding that everyone, citizens and foreigners alike, carry standardized identification documents to cross frontiers. The modern passport was born out of this wartime necessity for control and security. And right alongside it came its partner, the visa. The word visa itself comes from the Latin carta visa, meaning a paper that has been seen. Initially, a visa was just a stamp to show that a passport had been inspected and was considered legitimate by the destination country as officials. It was a security measure, a way to vet people before they even arrived. After the war ended, everyone expected things to go back to normal. They thought these new, strict border controls would disappear. But they didn't. Governments had discovered a powerful new tool. The post-war world was a mess of economic instability, political upheaval, and mass displacement. Millions of people were on the move, fleeing collapsed empires and seeking new opportunities. Countries, especially the United States, became worried about being overwhelmed by a wave of immigration. They saw visas not just as a security tool, but as a way to control the flow of people. This is where the tourist visa, as we know, it really begins to take shape. In the 1920s, the United States led the way in formalizing this new system. The Immigration Act of 1924, also known as the Johnson-Reed Act, was a major turning point. It established a strict national origins quota system, severely limiting immigration from Southern and Eastern Europe, and almost completely banning it from Asia. To enforce these quotas, the act required all potential immigrants to obtain a visa from the U.S. consulate in their home country before they traveled. This was a radical shift. The decision-making power moved from the port of entry, like Ellis Island, to consulates spread across the globe. But what about people who just wanted to visit? To see the sights, do business, or see family without intending to stay forever? The 1924 Act also created a new category, the non-immigrant. And for these temporary visitors, the visitor visa or tourist visa was created. This separated the idea of permanent immigration from temporary travel. For the first time, you had to declare your intent. Are you coming to live and work, or are you just passing through? The tourist visa was the official proof of the latter. It was a promise that you were a legitimate tourist with a home to return to, not an immigrant in disguise. To get one, you had to prove it. You needed to show you had a job, a family, and property back home, what we now call strong ties. This system, designed nearly a century ago, is the fundamental basis for how most tourist visas work around the world today. The decades that followed saw the visa system expand and become more complex. The Cold War, for instance, turned visas into a political weapon. The Iron Curtain wasn't just a physical barrier. It was a visa barrier. Getting permission to travel between the East and West was incredibly difficult and used by both sides for propaganda and control. A visa could be a reward for loyalty or denied as a punishment. It was a clear symbol of the deep ideological divide that split the world in two. Then something else started to happen: mass tourism. The arrival of the jet age in the 1950s and 60s made international travel faster, cheaper, and more accessible than ever before. A new global middle class emerged with the time and money to explore the world. Countries quickly realized that tourism was a massive economic opportunity. It created jobs, brought in foreign currency, and boosted local economies. Suddenly, those strict visa requirements started to look like a barrier to business. Why make it hard for free-spending tourists to visit? This created a tension that still defines visa policy today: the balance between security and control on one hand and economic benefit on the other. Countries wanted to keep unwanted people out, but they desperately wanted to let tourists in. This led to the rise of visa waiver agreements. Countries with strong diplomatic ties and similar economic levels began to trust each other's citizens. They agreed to let them visit for short periods without a visa. The European Union's Schengen area is the ultimate example of this, creating a massive zone where internal borders have effectively vanished for travelers. Similarly, powerful passports, like those from Japan, Singapore, or Germany, grant their holders visa-free access to a huge number of countries, turning the passport itself into a symbol of global mobility and trust. But what about the digital age? The 21st century has brought another evolution: the e-visa and the electronic travel authorization, or ETA. Instead of visiting an embassy, you can now often apply online, upload your documents, and receive your travel permission by email. Systems like the US ESTA, the Canadian ETA, or Australia's ETA are not technically visas, but they serve a similar purpose. They are pre-screening programs that gather data and determine a traveler's eligibility before they even board a plane. It's a faster, more efficient system, but it's also a form of digital border control. Your data is checked against security watch lists and immigration databases in seconds. This move online is making the process more convenient for many, but it also raises new questions about data privacy and algorithmic decision-making. Who is making the decision, a person or a computer program? So, the next time you plan a trip, take a moment to look at your passport. That booklet and the visas or lack thereof inside it tell a story. It's a story that starts in the trenches of World War I, runs through the immigration halls of the 1920s, across the ideological divide of the Cold War, and into the jet-fueled boom of global tourism. It reflects the constant push and pull between our desire for security and our longing for connection, between a nation's right to control its borders and humanity's shared impulse to explore. The simple tourist visa is a powerful symbol of the world we've built, a world that is both more connected and more controlled than ever before. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through history interesting, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the things that shape our world. See you next time.